Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. Um, Bit of a mad one, to be honest. Bit of a mad one. So it happens now and again. We like to delve into the madness and see where we are. So this is Flight 370, MH370, possibly was it? Again, I've made a video on this before, and we watched a documentary, I think, and there's one on Netflix as well. I've watched, and I think we watched someone on here, and it all kind of made sense, to be honest. The explanation that I had, the pilot, um, the pilot basically hijacked the plane and flew it into the South Indian Ocean and crashed it into the sea when it ran out of fuel. As part of some sort of political terrorist thing because his cousin or brother had been arrested or something of something to do with some terrorist organisation, was the crack, and that he'd depressurised the cabin and basically killed everybody on board long before he crashed the plane into the sea, was kind of the tale that we'd got, and it kind of all made sense in many ways. To be honest, it really did. But just to throw a fly in the ointment, this guy here. The video is called, by the way. Hold on. The Resilient Show. What happened to MH370? Ashton Forbes reveals teleportation evidence. So it's Ashton Forbes he is through a fly in the ointment, very much so. And it gets this is where the madness comes in. Teleportation evidence, right? Madness, I know, madness. But that's where we are. That's what we're going to look at, and that's what the video's called. So what happened to MH370? Well, what maybe 13 years ago, 12 years ago, just completely vanished off the face of the earth. There was claims that found bits of the plane in Africa and all these kind of things, and bits had washed up and yada yada yada. We've heard all the tales. This guy's going to tell you all that's lies. So, and there was teleportation involved, if you can believe that. But again, he's got some kind of evidence for it. He hasn't just come out and said it was teleported. It's not quite as simple as that to debunk. So yeah, let's get involved here and see where we are. I mean, it's 1 hour 35 minutes long, so I'm not going to probably play it all. So again, the channel was called the Resilient Show. So if you want to watch the full thing, I would suggest you do so. But yeah, it's quite long. So again, you can't really, unless you're going to come and watch all of it, you can't really debunk it until you've seen all the evidence. So this is just, I'm trying to like ease you in, if you know what I mean, of like this might be a crack. This, well, it is a crack. This exists. I'm showing you the video, but whether it's true or not, you be the decider. But as I say, he hasn't just come out and claimed it. He has some evidence of form here. So anyway, let's crack the fuck on with it.
So what's happening here is that if you watch the Argus videos you guys can see online, if you Google Argus, it's a huge field of view. So this drone is actually mapping like about a 100 square kilometer area of the ocean. And someone can interact with it and they can press on the screen and it pulls up a window. We are looking at one of those windows. So somebody has popped open a window and they're watching the plane, tracking the plane on this huge battle map.
Of all the commercial aircraft, and
they could see anything in that 100 square kilometer view. And so then here they can just zoom in on it and they can replay this. This isn't just live. It's live. It's pre-recorded. They can rewind if they want to. That's why you see this mouse cursor come on the screen. And notice at the end there, when the mouse cursor goes off the screen, what they're doing is they're taking this window they have on their screen and they're just going and they're closing the window. And it's still recording for a brief second there.
So tell us what happens when we see, we're seeing a energy orb come in, right?
So I would call these hypersonic plasma orbs.
And there's one comes in.
Because this is essentially, they've created a drone here. They've taken the hypersonic turbojet engines and they've turned it into a heat exchange.
And there's 3.
Yeah, and the orbs lock in, and they're using magnetism to lock in like this. So why can they create a perfect triangle like that? Because it's magnet inversion, positive and minus magnetic or electromagnetic charge, and it creates an equilibrium, and they're just locking into a certain equilibrium. So how would you pull something like this off? Well, you would use some kind of fly-by-wire, advanced, almost AI, computer-based system for flight navigation. And then they spin around the plane. And they spin around the plane, and then they go into this vertical orientation. Why did they flip to this vertical orientation? There's actually a lot of clues to be gained there from a scientific perspective. Like why, if you're spinning around the plane, you got 3 orbs spinning around the plane, why would you choose a specific way to spin around them? Because you can spin in 360 degrees. It doesn't matter. You can spin however you want. They're doing that because they're telling us where this plane is going. If this was just a missile, like a lot of people say, they think this is an annihilation event. If this is annihilation, I would just shoot a missile at the thing and it's gonna blow up. Why this whole, like, look at this dance and watch when this first orb locks into the plane. When the first orb locks into the plane, it almost like it doesn't lock in right away. There's like one orb spin around the plane, but the other 2 orbs, as they lock in, they know exactly where they're going. They're locking in directly into their triangle formation. That tells me that this is like some kind of homing weapon where, like, okay, you're painting the target, you've got the first orb locked in, and now they're all locked in, and now they're, doing their program, their dance to spin around the plane. And it must be I think, a teleportation protocol. Like now that the orbs are in this vertical formation, spinning around the plane, they're spinning counterclockwise around the plane. Wow. The plane just disappears. Now, this was the thing.
Flash. What's the flash?
And the flash, there's a flash of light, but that's actually not visible light, as we will find out when we watch the second video. Mm-hmm. But there's this flash of light. It turns out if you research wormholes, teleportation type stuff, you find that you expect there to be this flash of X-ray or soft X-ray or ultraviolet light. And those forms of light are not visible to the human eye. Now, this is going to be one of the hugest clues in the second video that what we're looking at is a real wormhole, real scientifically accurate one. Because we're going to look at a second video in a minute. And in the second video, we're going to see that flash is black. Means it's outside the thermal range of this color. And that would mean
it's not an explosion at all.
So yeah, it's not. It's more of like an implosion.
So, I'm sorry to interrupt there, but as you can see, it's fucking madness, absolute madness here. We've got teleportations, we've got UFO orbs of some form doing circular things. Absolute madness. I seen this video the other day and I was just like, oh God almighty. The plot thickens, you know what I mean? The plot thickens. I mean, the kind of credibility that he's got here is apparently this is American drone footage off drones, literal wing... cameras on the wings of the drones, as he says there, which have got like timestamps and things on them. He's got 2 bits of footage, another one coming in a minute. So yeah, this is the crack. This is the theory. This is the evidence. Bits of video footage of planes being surrounded by UFO type orbs. They do a bit of a dance, and then the whole thing vanishes in a flash of light, so to speak, or non-light, as this person's maybe saying here. So, fucking madness again, yet again. I do love a bit of madness, do you know what I mean? But fuck me.
Right? It's an endothermic event. It's not a release of energy that we're seeing there, though we are seeing this release of this flash of photons. And that flash is actually probably the best evidence that that's a real video in 3 dimensions, because when that flash goes off, people have taken like you could change like the color scale on it. You can see it accurately illuminates the clouds. Like on the left side, you can see the clouds are accurately illuminated as if it's 3-dimensional lighting. And then in the foreground, you can see it only illuminates the part that would be, the light would be hitting. And that kind of level of detail is not something you see in, a standard hoax video or something like that. That means someone needed to create a 3-dimensional environment with point source 3D lighting to have accurate light, not just a glow effect or something like that either. From a physics standpoint, that says what we're looking at here is a real wormhole. Now, for me, what I try to conceptualize to people is like, what would that mean? Well, when we look at the video, the clouds don't get blown away like we would expect from a nuke. We don't see the clouds get blown away, and we don't see them get sucked in like a black hole or something like that either. So it's more of just like a mirror. Like if you were to go through a mirror and now you're just on a completely different area of space-time, or on our planet somewhere else. So it's almost just like taking a cutout, like you're in Microsoft Paint and you just cut something out and you stitch it and you move it somewhere else, which is very unnatural to us.
Because the orbs disappear as well.
Yeah, the orbs disappear as well.
The orbs, they didn't create a portal and then the plane goes through it. The orbs are gone as well.
Yeah, so the papers that I would tell people to read, first of all, Eric Davis, teleportation physics study. Guy's literally a UFO whistleblower talking to Anna Polina Luna and Tim Burchett and all these other people. And I'm going, people need to ask him about teleportation, because I think I'm seeing it here on 2 videos and he probably helped them make it. But the other papers people need to look into are the DIRDs, the Defense Intelligence Reference Documents that Hal Puthoff, Eric Davis's boss, got commissioned. And one of them is about non-locality.
No.
Which is
Eric Davis's boss is
Hal Puthoff,
and he's passed.
No, he's still around.
He's still around.
He's still around. Yeah, he's getting up there in age, and people should try to get him to testify before.
Okay, yeah,
that happens.
I didn't think, for some reason I thought he wasn't still alive. Okay,
no, but a lot of these guys have been passing, and I think that they are kind of waiting the clock out basically for some of this stuff and technology. When it comes to the teleportation, and some of those DIRDs, one is called traversable wormholes, stargates, and negative energy, and the other one's warp drives, dark energy, and the manipulation of extra dimensions.
And these are government documents.
Government papers.
Yeah,
they were some of the most
isn't
popular.
Like some hobbyist putting papers. This is government documents.
And if you look these guys up, which I have, like every one of the authors, these are serious business, all black project engineers, all of them. One of them, Friedwart Winterberg, one of my spirit animal, he has passed, but he was major in inertial confinement, fusion, and thermonuclear weapons, Project Paperclip scientist that we got from Germany. Like, these were as legit people as you can possibly be. John Kramer, out of, I believe, University of Washington, is one that wrote the non-locality paper. We would think of that as the double slit experiment or quantum entanglement. And he knows every EPR experiment there is, all these experiments where we're trying to figure out, why can we quantum entangle 2 things? And why, when we change this one over here, does this one also interact? How can that be possible? This is connected to the idea of teleportation. And John Kramer, he presents 2 theories about teleportation that I think are very important for people to understand. One is, everybody asks, does that plane go back in time? Does that plane go another dimension? Well, the old school physicists, Richard Feynman, the Manhattan Project, John Archibald Wheeler, these guys all thought we're not going to be able to have retrocausality. We're not going to be able to go back in time. Somehow nature will prevent it from happening. Whether you believe that or you don't, we're not going to know until we see the experiment. But I happen to agree with those guys. And the important part is, in his paper, he says, you know what, to get around this question and this problem, we can actually make our experiment. We can actually engineer the EPR experiment so that there is no retrocausality. So what that would mean is,
what do you mean when you say there is no retrocausality?
It would mean we're going to make a teleportation experiment, but it can never go back in time. The fastest it can go is instant transmission. Like, I can teleport from here to over there, but I'm never going to teleport to over there in the past. There's never going to be 2 of me at the same exact moment. So that's what he says. And he says, we can actually configure our teleportation apparatus. And then the other part of this then is that he presents this idea, well, you need to.
Sorry to interrupt, but what comes to mind is like the Philadelphia experiment and stuff as well. So the governments have definitely been meddling in all of this kind of technology and trying to invent it, and anti-gravity and all this. This is all, I mean, it's kind of common knowledge, really, that, I mean, Operation Paperclip he mentioned, stealing all the Nazi scientists. Yeah, and von Braun and the moon landing and etc. etc. Again, if you look into sort of Operation Paperclip, and I mean, I'm not a big fan of Hitler died in the bunker either, to be honest. I think he probably fucked off to Argentina. It's probably a better crack, but maybe not. I don't know. But there's a lot of suspicion. Like, his body's never been proved. Like, the bit of skull that Russia give forth for experimentation wasn't Hitler's. Apparently they just burned his body and took it back to Russia, and no one's ever seen it, and all this kind of crack. So it's very, very suspicious, to be honest, Hitler's death and whether he did actually die or whether he fucked off to Argentina or South America somewhere. So them's kind of the options, but there is no real definitive proof. I mean, Britain and America um, weren't even in Berlin or anything when this all went down. It was the Russians who took Germany and took Berlin, and you know what I mean. It wasn't the British or the American forces. So everybody just kind of had to believe Russia's crack that he died, and for all we know, he could have made a fucking Russia deal with Russia to get away. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's very suspicious. So anyway, we're back with Flight 370 and this teleportation crack. But I just thought I'd mention that like there is historical evidence for people trying to do this, like Philadelphia experiment and Manhattan Project and all these other sort of things, where we're always experimenting with various things, to be honest, but to accelerate our knowledge, our technology. So this is always going on. Like this is going on now as I'm making this video. Somewhere in some lab in some country, people are trying to innovate and invent and make things, and you know what I mean. And not all of it will be for good, or well, probably the majority of it won't be for good. It'll probably be for military purposes. So this is happening all the time. So I don't know if this is true and if we've perfected teleportation here. But that's what the claim is from this guy that we have now. I mean, the Philadelphia experiment was a long time ago. A long time. World War II was a long time ago. So all these scientists that we stole, they're all probably long gone now, and we're just carrying on the work that they started doing, to be honest. So although it seems far-fetched and a bit crazy, it maybe isn't at the same time, because people are always trying to invent this. We've tried before. Again, if you look back into the 1900s, and it was a lot more broadcast when everybody was trying to invent everything, if you know what I mean. And we've tried to do plenty of stuff, you know what I mean. Nuclear bomb is another good example of why would you want to invent such a thing, but people do, people have. And it's a war winner in many ways. That's why you would want to build one. But again, teleportation in a military aspect, again, you can teleport right to the enemy and past their defensive lines, so to speak. So it would have massive military purposes. Teleport fucking for agents in, just and you know what I mean. Sabotage agents in. You could never really be beat. So to say that governments wouldn't try and gain this technology would be stupid, to be honest. Of course they would. And again, we kind of look like we've tried in history. So I mean, with 2025, that's all I think is we are a long way down the line here now. And these people have been trying to invent all this shit our entire lives. So we maybe have got here.
To have, I explain to people like a warp gate. You have to have an end point and you have to have a receiving point and a starting point. So this would mean that you're not just teleporting like, okay, I'm just teleporting in this direction. You have to have like some anchor that tells you this is where you're actually ending up to. Because especially if you drop out of space-time, if you want to think of it like that, you're no longer anchored to a point in time anymore either. So this is where things temporally start to get weird, and why I think you hear some of the Congress people talking about interdimensional stuff is like, this is what they're talking about. There is an extra dimension and it allows for teleportation, you to blip out over here and you to reappear over here. That's quantum entanglement. But there may be limitations to it. There may be physical mechanisms like we can't go back in time. That might be a possibility. Or if we can, that may imply that there are multiple universes, maybe infinite dimensions from that perspective. So I think people should read that paper because it also connects to this idea of quantum communications, faster than light communication. And he says, and it presents in that paper, that you could configure one of these experiments like a switch, where you send somebody basically Morse code. Either the interference pattern is on or it's off. And you can send that to somebody like on Mars, And what you could do with this technology, just to give some people context of what we can do with the same thing that we saw in those videos, you could control the Curiosity rover on Mars from Earth in real time with no lag. And people say, no, that's not possible. It's super far away, like the speed of light. Like it will take 8 minutes to send a command. That's what this can do. Like, and that would be, we're not violating time. We're not violating causality when we do that. As long as it's instantaneous transmission and not back in time transmission, it works. But
So, it's complicated shit, to be honest. You're talking like quantum physics and all this kind of crack. He was talking about the measurement problem before, which we've mentioned, which is part of the simulation theory. So it gets real fucking deep, to be honest. I mean, it's far, far fucking deeper than my level of intelligence, to be honest. But it doesn't mean it's far, far deeper than the level of intelligence of many, many people or other people. And again, the Nazi scientists and everything with the Philadelphia experiment and all these kind of things going on in the background. Again, government's always striving to build better military technology. Teleportation would be a massive advantage to any military on Earth. It would be absolute winner, to be honest. As I say, you could teleport behind enemy lines and sabotage, or teleport ships right next to their fucking borders, or whatever you wanted. It would be of a massive use. So governments would strive and have strived to create this technology, but have they cracked this technology is the bigger question. So I won't really play anymore, to be honest. He goes again. There's more footage. Like later here, we can see more. I'll just skip to this footage. We'll see where we are with this. Might get an advert. Hold on.
In this game, your heroes will die.
Oh, that sounds like real life right there. In this game, your heroes will die.
A lot.
Oh, yep. It's definitely real life.
With every defeat, a new hero takes on.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to do that.
39 people, but the technology is amazing. The color of the orb is super important. It changes from like all green to becoming blue and green or a little bit of yellow. And that's because these things are little fusion reactors. They're little compact fusion reactors covered in a ball of plasma, and it's just a magnetic field that's confining the plasma. And we see these dark lines in front of the orbs. This is also another indicator that this is a little ball of plasma that's a fusion reactor. These lines in front and behind the orbs, this is consistent with a field reverse configuration in fusion. Field reverse configuration in fusion has two axial jets that shoot out of either end. So essentially what they've done here is they've turned some of these old scramjet engine designs into a heat exchange where there's a fusion reaction happening in the middle of those plasma orbs. And they create a plasma bubble around them through the extremely powerful magnetic fields that they have. And the big problem in fusion is confining all the plasma. Like they can't keep it all perfectly confined. But what they found is, okay, well, don't try to keep it all perfectly confined. Like let it shoot out in a jet, and you can control that jet for propulsion. And if this sounds
right, so as we can see, it's technical shit, to be honest. It's deeper than my knowledge base, as I've said. But a good way of looking at it is it's just technology, it's physics, it's science, and again, if you can manipulate the laws of time and gravity and all these things, I'm not really wanting to say it isn't possible, because I don't know, but I do know people have strived to do all these things. You know what I mean? Like these crafts we see in the skies that can move and turn at right angles at like fucking 1,000 miles an hour and just shoot off. Again, there's some sort of level of technology that we do not possess, or possibly do possess. But again, we're always striving, and again, a way of looking at it is like 300 years ago we had fuck all. Now look at everything we've got now, iPhones and all this technology. We're always progressing. So to say this isn't possible, I don't think you can, because we don't know what technology we've got anymore. We really don't. They don't tell us. The military do not tell you what technology they invent. Classified is the word used. So again, it's a massively crazy theory. I'll be the first one to say, as usual. But I don't think we can say that the technology doesn't exist in 2025. There is footage here, multiple bits of footage. Again, the first one recorded apparently off a military drone, wing camera. And again, he claims he can prove all this. So that's kind of why I brought this forth, because the evidence is like off a military drone, apparently. So, and again, you've got this in like night vision as well, with the orbs doing the things round the plane, and then the plane just vanishes. So, very much the plot thickens. I think he claims it went to Diego Garcia, which is an American military base, which at the time MH370 went missing, I very much followed it at the time and was very interested in what the fuck happened to this plane. And Diego Garcia was mentioned quite a lot very early on. Again, big American military base. I think it's part of the islands we've just given, British have just given back, the Chagos Islands or whatever they were called. I believe it's in that region. Yeah, but they've took up a lease for another 100 years or something. But Diego Garcia, it's maybe, as some people say, the real Area 51, because it's in the middle of nowhere on an island. Apparently, it's like some refugees accidentally rocked up there during COVID and been arrested since COVID because they rocked up to Diego Garcia. They still haven't let them go, apparently. So it's very, very highly classified military island, Diego Garcia. Again, a lot of people might not have heard of it, whereas everyone's heard of Area 51. So you don't put everything in Area 51 because everyone's heard of it. You go and put it where people have never heard. So again, make of it what you will. It's all out there for you to decide, but this is the documentary. There's a lot more to it. It's on for an hour and a half, as I said, an hour 35 minutes. I've already played you about 10 minutes of it, to be honest. I'm just trying to show you the footage, really, and tell you the general crack. But if you want to know more in-depth stuff, again, there's the channel and the video, and again, it's very interesting, very interesting. And again, I can't claim we don't have this technology in 2025. Is the beauty of it, and we see all these orbs, multiple bits of footage of all these orbs flying around all the time at night, especially like with the footage for Man and Boy. So the orbs exist. The plane went missing. It was a wishy-washy story. Even the families, all the families of the people on the plane, they were all kicking off. They didn't believe what the government were telling them. So yeah, the mystery, the plot thickens and the mystery maybe continues, but the official story is obviously it crashed in the Indian Ocean. But if we go on everything else, I mean, if Charlie Kirk's out to go by, and you know what I mean, everything else in the fucking world we get told here, then it probably is a lie, and this guy might be onto something. If just so from past experiences, I wouldn't write this guy off, basically, and believe the official story when 9 times out of 10 the official story is a load of fucking bullshit if it's anything to do with some agenda of somebody somewhere. I'll leave it there anyway. If you want to watch the rest of the thing or find out more, get yourself over to, I think, the Resilient Show, and yeah, watch the rest of the video. I'll leave it there. Peace.